Do you get stuck in quantum incursions, unable to fight any further after a few days because the enemy armies are just too tough? Here's how to beat quantum incursions. First, let's go over the basics. There's a map with a bunch of individual nodes on it. These can be fighting or donation. Red nodes mean you're fighting with attack boosts, blue nodes mean you're fighting with defense boosts. Donation nodes can be for coins and supplies, units, or goods. You spend quantum actions that regenerate each hour like forge points to move between these nodes and complete interactions with them. As you and your guild progress through the map, you get access to more nodes. At the end of each map, there are 2 boss nodes, one for each attack and defense. If you clear those, there are nodes where you can put in extra fights or donations. These farming nodes are the same difficulty as the enemies at the start of each level. However, your guild might not manage to clear each boss. At midnight server time, the difficulty of the entire map increases and your progress is set back to the start. The catch is that the harder the enemies you're facing, the better the rewards you can get. If you want to master quantum incursions and get the most rewards, that means you're going to want to be able to fight against those hard enemy armies. You'll need to do this by building up your settlement. It functions sort of like your main city. Residential buildings provide coins and population, and production buildings provide supplies and require population. Military and goods buildings provide their respective resources if you pay coins and supplies, but in quantum incursions, the production time is instant. Additionally, you can only choose 3 of each of the military and goods buildings. We'll talk more on which to choose later. Cultural buildings provide Euphoria, which is basically just happiness like in your main city that boosts your settlement's productions when it's high and reduces those productions when it's low. However, decorations will require Euphoria to place. The good news is that they provide those hard-to-get attack and defense boosts that are essential to beating the harder difficulties. As such, our general strategy has 3 stages. First, the goal is to build up coin and supply production as much as possible. Don't build decorations, just focus in on residentials, production buildings, and a limited number of cultural buildings. Unless you desperately need units or attack boosts, do not build military buildings or decorations. I recommend either placing a few expansions using your quantum shards or by producing goods. However, your primary goal should be building up coin and supply production, not goods production. This means that you'll want to focus on getting goat farms and villas as quickly as possible. The second phase of the settlement comes when you start struggling with fights and losing units. You want to choose either attack and defense boosts, not both, and build decorations for those boosts. The reason is that the 1x1 decorations provide a 5% boost for a specific army, while the aqueduct provides a 10% boost for both in 3 times the space. If you're able to decide which army boost you specifically want, you can more easily pack in more attack boost in your city than if you used aqueducts. Even better, the smaller decorations cost less. The third phase of the settlement is towards the end. You'll want to delete all your buildings and pack in as many decorations as possible to beat those final, most difficult levels. You should only do this when you either run out of space to place more decorations or when it's the last day or so of the season. Just remember to produce enough units that you can keep fighting before you decide to delete your residential buildings and production buildings. So the question inevitably becomes, what is the best settlement that you can build? The answer, I regret to inform you, is not straightforward. The best settlement for you is going to be different from that of most other players. Thanks to there now being so many buildings that give you extra resources in quantum incursions, including coins, supplies, units, and goods, you might be starting with drastically different resources compared to another player. There are some guides out there that tell you a specific way to play, but you want to take advantage of any extra starting resources that you have. If you can put in a goat farm early, for example, do so. The faster you get your settlement up and running, the better off you will be in the future. If you're at the absolute rock bottom with no starting quantum coins or supplies, there's a really good thread over on the US forums where a player shows their settlement with absolutely no boosts from their city, still managing to reach level 8 fighting. I'll link it in the description if you're interested. While building your settlement, you'll want to focus on one of the army boosts, attack or defense, but unfortunately, I can't tell you which to prioritize. It'll depend on you and your guild. You want to work together with your guild so that you have an even spread of those that can fight on attacking or defending nodes. Make sure you're communicating with your guild to know how other players participate and try to equally divide who prioritizes which army boosts so that you can keep clearing nodes and no one is stuck with a bunch of actions they can't use. I'd recommend taking any settlement, league, or event buildings that you have boosting quantum incursions armies into consideration when choosing which to focus on. If you've got a lot of buildings boosting your defense values, for example, it makes sense for you to go that route. If you've got a balanced mix of boosts, you may want to choose a different option each time to help balance your guild based on how other players are situated. What you can choose the same every time, regardless of army boosts, are the units and goods that you want to focus on. Most players will go with the ballista, but choose the other two units based on which you like fighting with. Archers are a common second choice. For goods, I always go for iron, jewelry, and cloth. They're the smallest, so they're the easiest to fit into your settlement. But what about expansions? How many should you place? The big question for expansions is how many quantum shards you can get each season, as well as how many goods you're willing to spend on expansions. The bigger your settlement, the higher your peak productions or army boosts will be. My general rule of thumb is that you don't want to spend more goods on an expansion than you can produce with about 2/3 of a collection of your fully built settlement. So if you produce 200,000 coins and supplies per collection, that translates to spending 133,000 on goods for the last expansion, which is about 130 goods. Therefore, only buy the goods expansions up to and including the 130 goods one. You may find a different rule to work well for you, but I've found that if I buy fewer expansions than that, I run out of space too quickly to place decorations, and if I buy more expansions than that, I can't fill all the space with decorations. Remember that you have to choose 3 goods buildings, and that you start with at least 20 of each good. You can purchase the expansions with different goods. For example, for the first expansion that costs 30 goods, produce 12 jewelry and purchase it. The next expansion costs 60 goods, so produce 40 cloth and purchase it. Then, since the next costs 90, use iron to buy it. If you've bought 3 expansions and want to place more, do so with whichever good you want. In terms of spending quantum shards on expansions, it depends on how many quantum shards you get per season and whether you'd rather spend them on actions to get more progress in the pass and individual node rewards, on the end of season boxes to get more fragments and epic hits, or on those expansions to build a stronger settlement so that you can fight easier. The choice is up to you and the rewards you want. One last tip for the settlement related to Euphoria. You don't need to have your settlement be enthusiastic at all times. You only want it at that level when you collect. That means rather than devoting a bunch of space to cultural buildings, you can fill that space with some extra houses to generate more actions. As long as you're at or above the unruly level of Euphoria, you make a profit on coins by having more roof tile houses. This means you can have 14 roof tile houses per amphitheater. Just sell off each one as you collect them so the Euphoria returns to its maximum when you collect your other buildings. While I wouldn't recommend going all the way down to super low Euphoria, having your settlement at the happy or content levels when you're not collecting it works pretty well. And then just sell enough houses to get to enthusiastic when you do collect. Now, we've been focusing heavily on the settlement, but what about how to play on the map? Well, the most important thing I see a lot of players getting wrong is donation. Never ever donate coins and supplies at the low difficulties. While it is a quick and easy way to spend actions and get node rewards, those coins and supplies are better spent investing in better buildings in your settlement. Donating all your coins and supplies means that your settlement advancement slows way down and you'll quickly fall behind due to the increasing difficulties. For goods donation nodes, only donate the goods that you haven't selected. For me, this is always ebony and limestone. For units donation nodes, only donate the units that you won't be using to fight. For example, if your primary unit you use is the ballista, don't donate all your ballista away. However, if you won't be using soldiers to fight, they are better off being donated than just not being used at all. If your guild has players who don't actively take part in quantum incursions, encourage them to help out on the donation nodes. It's the easiest way for them to get involved. It only takes a few clicks, they help out the guild's progress in rank, get personal rewards, and everybody benefits. On the fighting nodes, you'll want to try and fight on the ones that have the boosts you're focusing on. For example, if you're focusing on defense, fight on the defense nodes. The battles will be much easier. Also, the type of node will change how hard it is. Normal nodes with the swords are the easiest. The strongholds, garrisons, and lieutenants are a little harder, and the boss nodes have the strongest enemy attack boosts on the map. If your boosts are weaker, I'd recommend trying to take on the normal nodes rather than one of the harder variations if possible. When the boosts do start getting tough though, make sure you're manually battling to keep your units from dying. Auto-battling is the easiest way to just be burning through the units you have and having to spend a lot of coins and supplies on producing more units to replace them, rather than building a stronger settlement. Of course, there's more that you can do for quantum incursions than just what's in the actual feature. You can boost your performance quite a bit using your main city. Many event buildings, especially limited ones, give boosts for quantum incursions. Keep an eye out for these as daily specials, mini challenge rewards, or other areas like reward boxes. Just be aware that anything providing quantum coins, supplies, goods, or units will require that building to be placed prior to the start of quantum incursions, which is 8 AM server time. Another relatively common place to get more boosts is via the rewards from guild expeditions and guild battlegrounds. The Forgotten Temple from the expeditions gives you 50% attack and defense for quantum incursions, on top of a 20% forge point boost. You'll have to clear all 5 levels of the guild expedition to get it, so it's worth investing the space in your city to army boosts to do so. In Guild Battlegrounds, the Tourney Grounds gives a 25% attack and defense boost for the incursions, but this building is much harder to get. You can only get it when in the Diamond League and must do nearly 4,200 fights per season, so it might not be as reliable as the Forgotten Temple. Both of these buildings are limited though, so you must keep playing the features to renew them. If you really want to get something permanent for the incursions, you can play through the settlements to get the main buildings that provide tons of boosts. It'll take a bit of time up front, so I'd recommend going with the easy ones first. Japan and Egypt are the 2 that come to mind. Polynesia isn't too bad either. At the end of the day though, don't worry too much about quantum incursions. If you get stuck at a higher difficulty, then you can figure out what to do next time so that you can get past that roadblock. If you want to take a break, just donate for a season. Believe it or not, quantum incursions is still the feature where it's the easiest to get free rewards. When your guild reaches those donation nodes, just a few clicks yields you quite a lot. Of course, at some point in time, this guide will become outdated. The feature will change and be modified as time goes on, and new strategies or city boosts or something will change to make this guide incorrect. But the basic strategy of building a strong settlement, working and communicating with your guild, and planning ahead will serve you well regardless. If you want to discuss your personal strategy for the feature, I encourage you to join my Discord server linked below. What major feature guide would you like to see next? Let me know in the comments, and as always, I'll see you all next time.